All right, welcome aboard to my channel. And as I of late have done, WriteLifeDraw. All right, folks, here we go. So this is inking part A. I just did the first part, which I just wanted to talk about how this composition was done originally in pencils by none other than the extraordinary uh, Yildiray Çinar. That's not an accurate website, by the way. It's no longer valid. It's been discontinued, so you can check it out, but there's nothing there. I don't know what his current website would be, but that's for another video or the tail end of this one. So I just wanted to comment on, I had said and mentioned about the tools that I was using, that these were pivotal. I originally inked most of the holding lines, which is the lines that hold each character, each object, with microns, if I remember correctly. And it worked. It was fine. It was a 0 1. I used the Sakura microns. I've used it for years. But I have to admit that there's a quality that I like about the Comic Multiliner. And also, I use these Sharpie pens. There's another one here. Let me go to my container here. Hold on a second, folks. I did say on the previous video that I would use this video A as the beginning of the art. Okay, I'll show you that pen in a second. But then, again, since I am going to turn, this channel is for showing you how I do what I do and why I do it the way I do it. So it's a it's a tutorial slash how to. So also these new Sharpie S gels are really at 0.7. I don't use the finer point. I use this one. Are really fantastic for what I'm about to do. All right, so finishing this thought. Why am I stepping away from the microns a little bit and going with the Comic Multiliner? It's because it's the quality. Let me find the right way. There we go. Of the points. So the points are relatively equal. The sizing is not the issue. They have equal amounts of ink. They flow perfectly. There's no smudging, but none of that. But here, if you can see it, let me see if I can capture this on camera. Get a closer view here. These points. Yeah, there we go. The camera's focusing. So this metal is very hard. So is that. Okay. But somehow the actual well that releases the ink is a little bit sharper, a little bit more metallic. This is, I think, some kind of carbon plastic of some sort that lets the ink out for the Copic multiliners. I don't know what the recipe is or their secret build, and I'm not asking what it is either. But what it allows one to do versus the other is that when you use this one, it creates a groove onto the board, and you can feel it when you run your pen on the board. By the way, this is an Eon board, Eon Productions, Eon Products. Check out their website. It's just that, eonproducts.com. Fantastic. I do recommend those boards. Again, I'm not being, sponsored by them or any of these pen companies. That's another story for another time if it ever comes to be that. I'm not asking. I'm just stating for the record what I use. And I'd like the channel to kind of be about that. Um, Also, anyway, so this one in particular is softer. I guess that's the best way to say it. This was harsher. All right, but they both have their uses. Then there comes along this the brushes, the brush. So there's a small, medium, and a large for Copic Multiliner. So watch this, and I'm going to get into the Sharpies in a second. You see how I did that? When I use this brush from Copic, I can actually control, which is almost hard to do with any brush that thickness, whether it's a sable brush, whether it's a disposable brush. And also they have a steadfast ink that is reminiscent of whatever the recipe is, that makes Sharpie. Now here's something I got to warn. This is a warning for other artists that may be up and coming or not used to doing inking. Maybe they do a lot of penciling only. Uh, so in this original pass through, I had some mistakes. Please, I have to state for the record, I make a lot of mistakes. Now, pencilings, it doesn't really matter as much because you can make overlines, underlines, and people expect it on a sketch. But when it comes to inking, I think that perfection is almost expected from different corners, whether it's a company, whether it's yourself, whether it's other artists and so forth, or the viewing public. And I'm just here to state for the record, I make a whole lot of mistakes, and I also know how to erase those mistakes. So I use white paint, white gouache. I think it's gouache. I can't remember. I'll look into which one is the last one I was using, and I use a Pentel pen, which is a whiteout basically, and the nomenclature for that is just basic whiteout. And if you don't create a bunches of it and create a big old bubble on it, it suffices. It'll erase uh, mistakes made on ink, like a pass through here, a stray line, things like that. However, you have to let it wait and you have to let it dry. The moment you let it dry, hold on a second, let me see if this is in camera view. Yeah. The moment you let it dry, do not, I repeat, do not go over it with a micron. I wouldn't even recommend this pen, the multiliners, although they are good. I can guarantee that if you go over it with a Sharpie S gel or a basic Sharpie pen, let me show you. As you can tell here, this line, I just did that before the camera started, okay? So this line, if you can see it here, let me give you a closer view. Right there. Okay, hold on, sorry for the shake. You see the line right here? All right. You see the white, that bunch of whiteness is, well, it was whiteout or white paint. You can use either one. Now, watch out. Now, I need to go over it because you can't leave it blank. If it was ever to be photocopied and printed, which it's not, but still, even if you were doing this to sell it to someone as a blue line inked board, this is, watch this. Let me double check this on my scratch paper. Make sure that the point is working as it should, because I've had this pen for a while. Yeah, okay, it's flowing. The ink is flowing good. Let's put this over here. Here we go. You see? I just created one uniform line, and you leave it alone. You let it dry. Of course, you can always come in, fold a piece of paper, and just blow air on it. It'll dry even faster. But the benefit about using an S gel pen from Sharpie company, we've all used this since we've been little, I'm sure, the Sharpie brand, but they've worked on the formula so that it doesn't smell like it used to. These don't have that odor. Neither does this one. And so you can use it to go over. Like here, there was a bit of white paint. Watch this. Here we're going to go with this pen, this Sharpie. There's a little cross line there, but I'll get rid of that later. This line should be a little bit closer to the wing of the wasp. You have to be careful you don't create a big old bubble of ink on top of the whiteout. The whiteout leaves a slight bubble, if you will, on the actual board, an uprising of it. So you have to be careful. And I'm trying not to put my hand, my big annoying hand, right here. Okay. So you see how that worked. Let me. I don't want to blow on it because the mic. Oops, sorry. All right, here we go. I almost lost you there, y'all. All right, let me extend the view back to normal. All right, here we go. Now let's pause this for a second. We have to do that minor editorial adjustment there. We got the drawing right side up. We're good for time. We're at 8 minutes. Not trying to go past 15 if I can. I don't want to bore none of y'all. All right, now originally I went over this line several times, which is really, I had made some mistakes. Folks, I got to tell you, I make a lot of mistakes in my inking and in my drawing because I'm, at times, I guess, a little too human. uh, but I can tell you this about the mistakes that I make in my art and in life. I will own up to them. I will fix it. I will make it better. And I know not to repeat those mistakes again. Which brings me back to just general life stuff that I'm sort of going to share along the way with to keep you all here with me and not bored to tears on just technical matters. Um, I remember a boss that I worked for, and boss lady, she was fantastic, great boss. She said to me a long time ago that one of my greatest weaknesses, my greatest failings, was that I expected everyone in the world, or, well, this was in reference to the job itself, when I would wake up and go to work, to have the same strong work ethic that I was raised with and that I exuded at my job. And she was right. And so that helped to teach me to, go a little easy and realize that everybody comes to the job under different circumstances, uh, having experienced different things the night before, the life before, months before, who knows? So you never know how you meet people, where you meet them at that juncture in their lives. So, if anything, it just made me a little bit more understanding and a whole lot less judgmental and a lot more willing to laugh at myself for my own mistakes and failings that I can exude as well. So, yeah, I'll be my first and biggest critic each and every single time. And I'm going to pull some lines here that weren't normally there because it'll add to the overall. Here, this is one of the mistakes that I want to own up to. This will be a fun video for that. How Manny actually talks to his viewers and owns up to his stuff. All right, so here, this is a drawing of in 2004. The Ultimate line of Marvel comics was out, selling great comics, and this was the new Thor, right? Who wore that crazy looking vest with a giant belt. The hammer was actually one sided and it had not a sickle but an axe head on the other side. It looked pretty dope and cool at the time. It still does though. Anyways, I'm using the micro now, and the micro is really good for pulling out the really thin lines, like right here. Let me show you. So there's lines that he had set there, and I saw them. I didn't forget them, Mr. Çinar. I've never met Mr. Çinar, so just the way I was raised, that's what I prefer to call him. Usually in the comic book business, you don't necessarily meet all your pencilers you might be working on as an inker, and the same goes for the writers. These lines I never want to thicken too much because they're further away. Any of the foreground lines, those are going to be thicker, because they're in the foreground of the actual drawing. Like here, I want to make sure that I have my infamously, well, I'm not famous about anything. Uh, in my mind's eye, this is what I've learned over the years in inking, how to create a very good, hopefully a good, again, imperfect, because like I said, I'm mistake written myself, cursive line, especially here when it comes to the musculature, right there, of this character called Thor, to bring that arm and that entire body configuration to life. Hold on a second, let me do this here. Now we're gonna see, this is the part where these microns really come in handy. They are so helpful at getting these straight lines where they need to be in the shadows. And keep that line straight. And that one. I'm using the shadows underneath the arm to actually create a halo. So we're going to leave that there. I might actually go over this area a little bit with white paint later on. Again, I'm taking my time with it. I'm not in a rush. There's no deadline for this, of course. I wanted to show you another sample of what I was doing. Oh, here we go. Okay, we're at the 14-minute mark, so I gotta hurry this up. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Let me turn this around in real time here for you. All right, this is the last example of. Here we go. That's centered. So we're going to use the gel pen, or more precisely, this. Excuse me for the sniffles there. It's just my allergies have been kicking me in the behind this whole past 2 weeks, really. The change in weather has been stark out here in the Bay Area. Okay. These lines are going to be thickened later. So that was already gone over. Where was it that I was looking for this line? So this circle here, there's an inner circle that I'm going to use the template for. And then I'm going to use the Sharpie. That'll be the last thing I do here on this video. Hold on. I just saw the, oh, there we go, the pass through. All right, I think I'm going to have to switch this again. There we go. I see it now. All right, I made a mistake before. Let's not make that mistake again. I'm going to pull the line out. So we'll set it back to normal. Let's see if that's within camera view. Yeah. You know what? I can't reach this far out on the board, so I don't want to. Let's do this way. You see? There we go. Now that line is there that it's supposed to be there. And then there was one here on the shield. Actually, it was the neck of Giant Man. The shield is already done, but it needs one little line right here to create the curvature. And my original line was horrible. I'll go over that later. You don't want it to touch the shield, but you want it to get close. So it creates a halo of its own. There we go. All right. Not perfect, but just right. All right. I think that's it for now. Hopefully you all enjoy this. Hit the thumbs up, bell for notifications so you're notified when I do another upload. Leave a comment if it's so you like and you're so inclined. This is part A. I'll be working on part B next. Trying to wrap up at least the majority of the inks on this piece. I mean, I finished it all on part B, but I'll try. I thank you for your time. If you chose to spend your time here for the last 17 minutes with me, you could have been anywhere else on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet for that matter. So I thank you for your time. Thank you for your kindness. Take care of yourselves and each other. And by all means, be good. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.